Simon Lobelson, welcome from all of us at the Sydney Philharmonia Choirs. For those of us that don't know or haven't heard of you, can you let our listeners know what you have been doing in 2011?
2011 has been a fairly seminal year for me. It's been a very busy year. It's been a year of change, trying new things. I've been based mostly in the UK for my work. I've done more opera than concert work this year. I've done, I think, about nine different operas in the past year, ranging from a modern opera for Royal Opera House Covent Garden to roles like Rigoletto, which is my first Rigoletto, to looking at Alberich in the Ring Cycle, and then a Rossini comedy called Turco in Italia, ranging to 30 performances of The Barber of Seville. 30. Wow. 8 performances of Mazzetto and Don Giovanni on tour again, and then lastly I had a concert performance just last week of Berlioz's Beatrice and Benedict. So a whole range of things, and I mean I've not done as many oratorios this year as in past years, for example, but things like the Brahms Requiem and the Rossini Petite Messe Solennelle have been in there.
That's very nice.
Yeah, and actually it's my 4th time in Sydney. For the year, 4th time this year, which is great because I get to see my family and friends.
Oh, well, welcome back to Sydney.
Thank you.
So you're back here to sing with Vox and the Sydney Youth Orchestra, but we've heard a little bit just then about your opera. So do you approach opera and concerts in different ways?
Essentially, no. Vocally and physically, I do exactly the same thing on the day of an operatic performances or concert performances, which is about 23 Marlborough Reds and a couple of Scotches, and we're off, which will make 2 p.m. start quite interesting on Sunday. I have to get up early for that one.
Kids, it's going to be a fun performance. You can't miss this.
There are easier things about concert work, and there are harder things as well. For example, concert work, you turn up, you sing, and you leave. Whereas in opera, you have 6 or 8 weeks with sometimes a difficult director. Also, it's a lot more physically exhausting doing operatic performances, especially with roles like, as I mentioned, Rigoletto, which is emotionally very intense, or even The Barber, where you're running around all night. It's quite exerting. But then with concert performances, there is nothing to hide behind. There's no makeup, there's no costume, there's no other actors or singers. It's just you and the audience, and that's quite intense. But at the end of the day, they're both ultimately about communication, as is all theatre.
Right.
And once you cease communicating with an audience, you may as well just give up, because that's the whole point of theatre. And it's about the one truth which is vital is musical, dramatic truth. That's at the end of the day, that's it. You know what you're singing about, feel the emotions, and communicate that across. You don't act, you just be. And I've just stood too many times in concerts next to singers espousing about the trials of Jesus, and it just sounded like a kind of a shopping list, which is sad. And that's about it, really. That's how I approach both opera and concert, just communicating truth.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. Now, you were born in Sydney, but I understand you've been well travelled since you were young. Where do you call home these days, and does coming to Sydney feel at all special for you?
Yeah, I consider myself very, very lucky to be born here. It's one of the most beautiful cities in the world. In a nutshell, basically I was born in Sydney, then I moved to Brussels with my family till the age of 5, came back, went to school here. When I was 17, I went and taught in a private school in England for a year, teaching music, cello, French, and coaching under-19 girls basketball, which was fun. And then I moved back here.
Wasn't expecting the basketball.
It happens. Undefeated they were. I moved back here, did my undergrad at Sydney University, and then I moved a few years later to London. I got a scholarship to the Royal College of Music, and I studied opera there. But on the way, I lived in Munich for about 4 or 5 weeks. Did a German course there, and I've been in London now for the past 8 years with my wife. We live there.
Very nice.
And but even though I've worked on 4 or 5 different continents, I've seen quite a bit of the world. But for want of a better phrase, I still call Australia home. It's just, you know, I grew up here. I went to school here. I was born here. My family's here. My friends are here. Every single street corner has a memory for me. And you know, when I land here on the plane, it's my 4th time here this year, as I said. I feel this magnetic pull. Flying over Sydney, there's nothing like it.
Absolutely.
And then when I leave, it's like my heart's being torn from my body. Yeah, Sydney's great.
It's much like we have our Nicole Kidman. You can be our Simon Lobelson over here, you know,
What an
the
honour.
Aussie son. How about working with choirs? What's it like to be leading a couple of hundred choristers in song? And what's your most memorable collaboration with a choir?
It's great. It's thrilling to have this choir behind you. I should just butt in here. I sang with Sydney Philharmonia Choirs in the choir when I was 18.
You're one of us.
I'm one of you.
Yes.
Always. I did the Verdi Requiem.
Beautiful.
Amazing. And that was just an amazing experience. So for me to be standing in the same hall a few years later will be just amazing. It's gonna be such a thrill. But sorry, back to your question. Yeah, I've had a few memorable experiences. I did a concert with a Welsh male voice choir, 300 strong.
Oh, wow.
A few years ago, and that was, I mean, if you've never heard a Welsh male voice choir live, do it, because it's incredible. Just the sound. What else? Doing something like Elijah with a choir, because there's such an intense musico-dramatic interaction between him and the choir, is fantastic. And what else? I guess lastly, the Sea Symphony, Vaughan Williams' Sea Symphony, if you don't know it, it's fantastic. I did it in Aberdeen in Scotland a couple of years ago, and just to have this wash, this musical wash, orchestral, choral sound just behind you is incredible. I love working with choirs.
Fantastic to hear. But what about the kind of roles and works you're aiming to perform in your career going forward? Choirs included.
Choirs included.
Yes.
I may be back in Sydney Philharmonia Choirs one day, who knows? Well, you never really know what you're going to end up singing. You kind of go where the work goes. But I have done some heavier repertoire in the past year, and it's been great. It's worked for me, and I love sort of singing, acting roles. That's what floats my boat. I'm not, you know, there are guys 5 years younger than me who do sort of young baritone supporting roles as well as I do. I don't do them particularly well. I'm not good at them. I find them boring. I am boring in them, and yeah, I'm just not very good at it. Having said that, if the Met called me and asked me to be 3rd spear bearer from the right, I'd probably say yes. But yeah, I think what I can say is that when I'm 50 or 60, I don't ever want to stop singing Mozart operas, the De Ponte operas, for example. Excuse me. That's wonderful music. Yeah, I mean, this year I've had my first brush with Verdi and Wagner, and they do figure fairly heavily in most baritones' careers. And you know, for example, I'm doing Ford next year in Falstaff, that's in the diary.
Cool.
And I hope I do continue a long association with them in the future.
Nice one. Very nice. But
Yeah.
if you had to aim for, if you've got these top shelf, that's the role I'd really like to have. It's not in your repertoire so far. What would it be?
I guess real sort of singing, acting roles, things like Wozzeck, things like Verdi, Macbeth, or Iago in Otello, and then things like, you know, Don Giovanni or The Count and Figaro I've never done. I've done all the other baritone roles, but not those two. So, yeah, I guess them. I'm sure there are others, but yeah.
You've got a long career ahead in which to aspire to, and the time to get there.
Yeah.
We hope to see you there soon. But
Yeah,
what
you.
we can see you is in the European Christmas concert at the Sydney Opera House on Sunday, the 11th of December. Survey the Magnificence. Now, which of the repertoire of carols is your favourite?
I think having heard Pavarotti sing O Holy Night many years ago, it's a wonderful carol. It's got this sweeping bel canto-like quality. It's very stirring. It was, you know, written by Adolf Adam, who's a 19th century French operatic composer, and it's got this. It wouldn't sound out of place in a 19th century opera, and maybe that's why I like it so much. But it's just got this real oomph factor.
Fantastic. Well, look, after you achieve your role of Wojciech, you're always welcome back here with Sydney Philharmonia Choirs. Simon Lobelson, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.